Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone, your source for daily fantasy sport lineup advice for the NBA and the NFL. Brand new video for you guys today. We got 9 games in the association. Got a stud 5 and a value 5 for you guys. But before I get started, like always, guys, I appreciate you guys drop a like on the video. It definitely helps my channel, and I greatly appreciate it as well. And if you're new here, it's the first time here, haven't yet seen any of my NBA or NFL lineup advice videos, to be a part of the community, the only thing you have to do is subscribe down below, put on your bell icon on, so this way you don't miss out on any of my NBA or NFL lineup advice videos. All right, with that being said, today is Saturday, October the 27th. We have 9 games in the association today. I'm going to give you a stud 5 and a value 5, one per position, like I usually do. If you're new here, that's what I normally do. I will probably touch upon a few other players that I may have some exposure to. But we'll start here at the point guards, man. A couple of nice spots here for a couple point guards today. Damian Lillard has been on fire. I think I'm going to have a little exposure to him. I'm not going to speak upon him today, but just to be honest with you, my viewers, I definitely think he's in a fine spot here. He's been very, very hot. You know, he's going to be a big integral part of the offense on that team. So Damian Lillard, to me, is someone that definitely to consider at 9,900. You need pretty much 49. I think he could definitely get you 49.50 in that game. Simmons, good spot as well. I'm going to bypass Simmons at 9,700. I think he can definitely get you 45.50 in that game as well. Kemba Walker, a little tougher matchup for Kemba. I've been on him quite a bit as of late. He's been fantastic. I'm going to definitely go all the way down. I think a really nice play here, very quiet, sneaky play, could be Eric Bledsoe here for Milwaukee versus Orlando. I love the matchup. He hasn't had a really big, Eric Bledsoe game as of yet this year, but I think this is the night that he can definitely get it done. His price is pretty darn good. 7,700 here on Fanduel. You need pretty much 38, and on DK he is 6,400. Really love his price on DK. He's pretty much a steal there. 6,400. You pretty much need 32. Pretty much 31, 32, pretty much to definitely get you there. And as far as last game minutes, he didn't have to. It was kind of a little bit of a landslide. Game got out of hand there, so he basically did not play a whole lot. He also didn't shoot the ball that well in the last game as well. But Bledsoe, 13.8 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, 7.5 assists, 35.3 fantasy points per game. He has played at least a minimum of 31, looks like as much as 33 minutes per game on average. He has 40-point upside, as we know. He's capable of doing that. As you can see, he got 47 here against New York and 41 against Indiana. He's shooting. Let's go over here to him on the cruncher. And let me find Mr. Bledsoe. Where are you? All the way at the top. All right, so you can see it here. Look at his usage right away. I look at usage rate, as you guys know, 21 to 25% over the last 2 games. The shots are there, they haven't been dropping. In the last game, he only took 6 shots from the floor and 1 from 3. Again, that game was a big win by them. It was a blowout. He really didn't have to be too much involved in that game. He did get into foul trouble early as well, which also minimized his minutes on the floor. But he'll bounce back and get his 32-plus minutes today. And as you can see, when he's getting 32 to 33 minutes, his usage rate is about 25%. And as you can see, he gets more than enough shots. He's going to take shots. 18 from the floor, 7 from 3. And the prior game before that, he had 11 from the floor and 7 from 3. And then he does a number of other things, which makes him pretty good. He's a decent defender. He can get some blocks, get some steals. And as you can see, he definitely can be one that's going to be able to get you 9 to as much as 13 assists per game. So right here, he pretty much had a double-double, and he came close to another double-double here. If he would have scored a little bit more, he had 9 assists in that game. But he does a little bit of everything. And, going up here against Orlando, Orlando's giving up 111 points per game. They're one of the better defending teams at the moment thus far this year. But they have allowed 37.4 fantasy points per game to point guards. They gave up 60 to Damian Lillard, 44 to Irving, 36 to Kemba Walker, 37 to Mr. Dragic of the Miami Heat. So I like Bledsoe's chances here, man. Plus he's a better player at home. I love when he's at home. He definitely plays better at home than he does on the road. So Eric Bledsoe, to me, I think is a very fine play. Got 40-point upside in a favorable matchup. I think Bledsoe should be someone that everybody should consider. I definitely also like Mike Conley in this matchup. So he's someone to definitely consider there as well. There's a lot of nice plays here at the top. As far as value, I'm going to come down. It's going to be someone that I normally don't play, but I just think that he's too cheap, and he has definitely upside, is Darren Collison. 4,300. He is mad cheap for what he can possibly get you. He can get you 30 plus. at this price. He could definitely do it. It's just a matter of getting the time on the floor. You know, I mean, he has to start hitting some of his shots so the coach could keep him on the floor a little bit longer, because right now Corey Joseph is definitely tapped into his time. But he's here, 6.6 points per game, 1.5, pretty much nearly 2 rebounds a game, 4 assists, 16.6 fantasy points per game. That's pretty much close to 17 a game. The minutes obviously have been a little up and down, but more or less anywhere between 21 to as much as 26 minutes per game. He's only getting 22 and 22. He's done 22 twice over the course of the last 3 games. His usage rate, let's go over here to the cruncher, and Collison. He's definitely in the nice Collison, let's take a look here. All right, so yeah, 18 and 16. So 16 to 18 usage rate, and that's all due to the fact that he's not taking as many shots, because when he's taking the shots, they're not going down. But when he gets those shots going again, as you can see, last game only 2 of 7 and 1 of 3 from 3. So he took 10 total shots, 7 from the floor, 3 from three-point range, and was really ineffective. Only 3 of 10 total. And then 1 of 6 and nothing, 0 of 2 shots at three-pointer in the prior game. So he needs to get, but the beauty of it is that he's able to do some other things, as you can see. He went out there, he got some rebounds, 4, 6 assists. I tell you, if I could get point guards to do that with sufficient minutes, I'll be happy with that. And he got 2 steals per game. He is capable of getting some steals and the occasional block, but he's more of a defender that definitely deflects a lot of balls. So I can see him get those extra fantasy points here. But at 4,300, I mean, if you take a look, see 5,100, he was as high as 6,000 at some points last year, 6,200, He is just too cheap. $4,300 is too cheap for him, and he is also 4,300 on DK. So either one of the 2 sites at 5x, you pretty much need only 21. You pretty much only need 21 from Darren Collison. I think that he's definitely, if there's a game that he can possibly get, that should be this game. I mean, Cleveland is allowing 118.4 points per game to the opposition. That's 8th most in the NBA thus far this year. And they're allowing 35.2 fantasy points per game to point guards, which is room there for Mr. Collison to do well. Again, Corey Joseph is a big problem, because if Corey Joseph is playing well, he's going to get more than minutes. But I think still here, as just a value play, someone that could be very sneaky. Nobody's going to be on Darren Collison. 4,300, not bad if you could squeeze him in there. He has the potential today. If he shoots the ball well, he'll get more than his 20, 21 minutes, and he can definitely get you 25, 30. And the thing is that as you go back over here to Mr. Collison, you can see he has had games 33, 33, 34, 31, 37. He's had games even in the 40s last year. He's capable of getting you 35 or better any given day, but he needs to get his shots, be aggressive, get his shots to go down, and then chances are the coach will keep him on the floor a little bit longer, and that's what he needs. And this is a good, favorable game. Cleveland, like I was saying, allowing 118 and giving up 35.2 fantasy points per game. They gave up 30 to D'Angelo Russell, 55 to Trae Young, and 43 to Kyle Lowry. Obviously, those guys are a little bit better than Darren Collison, but Collison has the potential. He has the upside to get you 30 plus. I think this is a good matchup for him, and I think he could be a very sneaky play here at point guard. Other than that, there are some other guys that I do like. I do like Isaiah Cannon here, but he doesn't have the same upside. He hasn't shown to give you 35, 40 in a given game as of yet. Rozier is the only one that comes close. He's capable of getting you 50, so he's someone that I may have some sprinkle into in this matchup against Detroit. And the young guy here, Sexton for Cleveland, had a pretty good game off the bench the other day. He may be one to come in this game and probably be able to give you some good value at 3,900. Just to throw a couple of names out there for you guys, those are some of the guys that I'm drawing some interest from as far as maybe having some exposure. We go to shooting guard. At shooting guard, at the top here, I'm bypassing Levine. He's had a couple good games. I think he's going to be in a good spot here as well. Again, I love Donovan Mitchell. You guys know that if you follow me since last year. This is a tough matchup for me. I love Donovan Mitchell, especially when he's at home. I'm going to go down for the first time this year and select Victor Oladipo. I think Oladipo's in a great spot here again, going up. I'm picking on Cleveland. So now we got Collison and we got now Oladipo. Oladipo, 21.4 points per game, 5.8 rebounds, 4.2 assists. He does a little bit of everything. 36.9 fantasy points per game. That's pretty much 37. At 8,300, you pretty much need 41 from him to meet value. And on DK, he's 7,700. You only need about 37 there. So those are very favorable numbers, and that's about where he's at right now. But we know he has 55 point upside, Victor Oladipo. He's just not had that big game yet, and I think this is the game that he might be able to have it. If Cleveland can keep this game fairly close for 3 quarters, I think Victor can get those numbers for us today. So Victor Oladipo, we go over to the cruncher to look at him a little bit more. Shooting guard, Oladipo. And as you can see, 33 to 34 minutes, pretty much steady, 32 minutes or better, anywhere between 32 to 34 minutes. Look at the usage rate, pretty much in the 30s. So we know he's going to be the most important piece to Indiana. And then you look at the shots are just there. I mean, he's taking about 26, I would say 26 to as much as 30 shots combined between 3 and from the floor. So that's a lot of shots from 2-point range as well as from 3. And then on top of that, he does everything else. We know he's a pretty good defender. He's capable of getting steals. He's capable of getting blocks. He's great in transition. Look at that, 9 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals. As you can see, he has 6 steals over the last 3 games. And he's had an occasional block, and you know he's going to get his close to 20 or better from the floor. And he's pretty close over here. He almost had a double-double. But overall, solid play, 44 and 46 over the last 2 out of the 3 games. Against Cleveland last year, as you can see, 60 and 68 over the last 2 games in the playoffs against Cleveland last year. And he was priced at 93 and 9,000. And he's only 8,300 and 7,700 on DK. I think he is definitely in play for that price and with that upside. All right, so he's going up against Cleveland, allowing 118.4, like I mentioned, with the Collison. But they're giving up to shooting guards 35.2 fantasy points per game, which is quite a bit. They gave up 43 to Lowry, 55 to Trae Young, and 30 to Russell. Pretty much the same numbers, more or less, like the key players from the point guard position as well. And against Cleveland, man, you know, Cleveland's point guards, 14 to 15 turnovers pretty much. I jotted this down because I thought that was intriguing, and we're knowing that Oladipo is a pretty good stealer. They've been turning the ball 14 to 15 times a game, Cleveland, thus far this year. So they've been a little careless with the basketball. That also falls into play as far as fantasy points for us, for Oladipo. As far as shooting guard, as far as a value play, I mean, man, granted, there's a lot of other guys. I love DeMar DeRozan here. If you're not on Oladipo, you got to be on DeMar DeRozan. Remember, I gave you guys DeMar DeRozan the other day when he played the Lakers the first time around. They're playing again today. I don't expect that game to go into overtime, but it will be a paced-up game. It will be a shoot. It will be another shootout. And I see DeRozan as well as LeBron James having another masterful games. I don't see them both scoring 60, but they're probably going to be in that 50 range. You know, I definitely love him at 8,100. He is definitely, I'm going to have some exposure, hands down, to DeRozan again today. I just figured I didn't want to throw him out there again to you guys just after I gave him to you 2 or 3 days ago. So Oladipo is the guy today that I'm targeting the most, but I definitely love DeMar DeRozan as well, and I think that you guys should definitely take a good, close look at him and keep him in your radar. I think Chris Middleton is in another good spot. I may have a little sprinkle of him in some of my lineups tonight. Then we come down, and my value for me today, I mean, I like J.J. Redick in this matchup against Charlotte, but I'm not going to go him. Magruder's been really good coming off the bench and even starting quite a bit and doing some work for Miami. He may be a viable play. He's 5,200. But I'm going to come all the way down to, just to give you guys a really, really cheap play. And if I can find him, let me just go to the game. I'm going to go to Mr. Wayne Selden. 3,500 for Wayne Selden. Definitely has some upside. He has played the last 2 games with all the injuries that Memphis has had. Now, granted, Temple is back. I don't think he's 100%, and he's in the same spot as Selden as far as shooting guard. But Selden can play the 3, and sometimes, depending on how they go with their lineup, they go and they'll utilize him also as a 4. So I can see him getting some 3 work. And as we all know that Mr. Green is hurt, Mr. Brooks is out, and Mr. Parsons is out. So they got 3 guys hurting there. So this is the reason why Selden is getting some minutes, and he's just going to get cooking. It's going to be just a matter of time. And for 3,500, he only need 15 from him, and he already has given you 15 and 18 in those 2 games in 21 to 24 minutes. If he gets a little bit more minutes, he'll probably get you 20 or better, and he's capable of getting you 30 or 30 plus because he's done it last year as well in minimal minutes. He's capable of doing 1 fantasy point per minute. I think, it's not a whole lot to look into him this early on. As you can see, this is only his numbers for now. But if we look at him in last year, as far as last year, where is he? Selden. And if we look at him last year, there were moments that you see he got in the 30s. He is able to get you, see 37 there again, 35. So he's a guy that can get you 30 plus. And at that price, even if he just happens to have a dud game and he gives you that low score, they chuck that score fine. But he may be one of those 3,500 guys that can get you 3,500 and crush value double. He can give you 2 times double the value. He can give you 10, anywhere between 7 or 8x. You know, it's very much possible for Wayne Selden. So I like Wayne Selden as a very sneaky, low-value play. He's not going to be highly owned, and he's someone that obviously is going to get some time on the floor due to the injuries that Memphis has. So Wayne Selden is in play for me as a value play. And just to tell you a little bit about Phoenix, 118.3 points per game and allowing 30 fantasy points per game to shooting guards. They gave up 31 to Klay Thompson, 36 to Gary Harris, 26 to Wesley Matthews, and Josh Hart of the Lakers scored 25 against them. So I think Wayne Selden is capable of getting you that 20 or 25, but I think he has the upside and the potential to get you 30 or better in a matchup like this. For 3,500 and he's 3,700 on DK, you only really need 15 to 16 fantasy points from him to pay that off. I think he's just a fine play. All right, small forward. Small forward, we got the big guns at the top. And, you know, I am all over LeBron James today at 11,800, you know, and I don't choose LeBron a whole lot. I do have a tendency of playing him in some matchups throughout the course of the year. But this is a matchup that I'd like. You know, he's going up against San Antonio. They played already a couple of days ago. He lit them up for 60-somewhat fantasy points. As we see his numbers here, he's averaging pretty much 26 points per game, 8.6 rebounds, 9.2 assists, 54.3 fantasy points per game. He's going in this matchup against San Antonio, 11,800, pretty much need 58. And he just did 60 twice out of the last 3 games and 60 against this team just 3 games ago. So I love the matchup. On DK, he's 11,100. You only really need 55. So I think he's favorable. I think that's pretty much his price for the amount of fantasy points he's putting in. But we know he's 60, 70, 80-point upside. He's got 70-point upside. This is going to be a paced-up game. Unless San Antonio goes back to their old ways of playing, you know, half-court offenses and half-court defense. They've been pushing the ball as well thus far this year. So I love the matchup for LeBron. It's not a whole lot to say here. LeBron is LeBron. He's one of the best players in the league. As you can see, he put up 63.6 for San Antonio 3 games ago. He plays more than 35 minutes per game. Let's just go over here and look at him a little further. And as you can see, the usage rate is going to be 25 or better, usually on the floor. He's going to take massive shots. He's going to take 20, maybe 22 to 26 shots per game on this team, between threes and from the floor from 2-point range. And then, of course, he's going to get his double-doubles. He has 4 double-doubles this year thus far. He did it here, did it here, did it here, 3 games in a row. And he got one over here. But he's done it 4 times this year, quite a bit for LeBron James, going up. And we also know, just to point out, we know that LeBron is capable of getting a triple-double, okay, which he did here. He already did a triple-double once, and he came close here of doing it 2 times this year. So he's had 4 double-doubles and 1 triple-double thus far this year. Going up against San Antonio, they're 28th in the league in the NBA in points allowed to the opposition. The opposition is scoring 121.8 points per game thus far this year per game against San Antonio, which is a surprise. San Antonio was always one of those that only allow teams about 102, 103 points a game or less. San Antonio's versus small forwards this year allowing 30.9 fantasy points per game. And, of course, you know, they gave up 63 already to LeBron. So I'm not saying LeBron is going to go out there and get 63 to 65, maybe even 70. It can't happen any given day. Anything can happen with LeBron James. But I do believe that he's going to be able to pay this price off today at 50. You need 58 from him. I think he can definitely do it. All right, so I definitely love LeBron James. He's my stud small forward. Then when I go over to value play, I'm going to come down, man, to one of his former teammates, Larry Nance Jr. Kevin Love is not right now still game time decision. And even if Kevin Love comes back, I could see Larry Nance still getting some minutes. At 5,000, you need 25. Here on DK, on Fanduel. On DK is 5,200, pretty much the same thing. You need about 26, 25 to meet value. He's averaging 8 points, 5.3 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 25 pretty much if you round that off, fantasy points per game. And he's been outstanding in the last 2 games, obviously due to the injuries. Obviously, they need him to perform. I mean, he didn't play the first 2 games. Obviously, he was recuperating from his own injuries. So he's going to be an integral part of this team because he's very athletic, very long, and he's explosive. You know, he can get hot and, he could put down a bunch of points really, really quickly. So 27 minutes in the last game, 11, 6, and 5, 3 steals. He's very, very, very active with his hands. He could definitely defend. We're going to come down here and take a look at him a little bit more. And again, they're going up against the 27th ranked against the defense, 27th ranked team defending forwards in Indiana. So definitely like the matchup. 34.7 fantasy points in the last game. Again, he's got to be effective in getting some shots. He only took 8 shots from the floor, but was very efficient. And then, of course, he does all the other things. He passed the ball 5 or 6 total rebounds, 3 steals. This is where we're going to get all the extra fantasy points. He has a tendency of sometimes getting a little careless with defensively and commits too many fouls early on. So hopefully he'll stay away from that. I think he'll be good in this matchup. But I like Larry Nance here. I really do. I really do. Indiana right now is giving up only 102 points per game, man. Sorry for the pause because I was just looking at it because I'm really like staggered at the points. 102 points per game they're giving up this year. So they're the second or third best team in the NBA right now as far as defending the opposition. So they're doing very, very well. Cleveland, Cleveland is, they're giving up a ton of points. I mean, their best hope is to try to pace this game up if they can and give guys in transition like Larry Nance the best possible chance to score a lot of fantasy points, which I think that's going to have to be the game plan for them, is get this game going and get Indiana off their comfort zone of getting into that half-court set and using Sabonis, and Thaddeus Young and these guys to kick the ball around. And then, of course, they don't, their main guy is Victor Oladipo. They don't have 2 or 3 superstars on that team, but Indiana is good, and that's what they do, is they like to slow down the game, make it into a half-court game, and make it as explosive and as best as possible for Oladipo to be able to go one-on-one and be able to do things off of screens and rolls. So, but again, this is what they need to do. They need to pick up the pace and give Larry Nance that opportunity. So I like the matchup. Indiana, as far as points given up, they're giving up 31.7 fantasy points per game, so it's quite a bit. Even though they have kept teams down on scoring, they have had obviously some positions where they struggle at, and this is a position that they have had some issues where I think it's an advantage for Larry Nance. They did give up 31 to Taj Gibson and 54 to Giannis, are the most notable mentioned guys that they have played against. And Taj Gibson, he doesn't score 30s that often, and he put up 31 on them. Larry Nance is much more explosive and, of course, younger than Taj Gibson. So I like Larry Nance here. I think he's a fine play at $5,000. You need 25. You can pencil him in there as a value play. There are some guys I like Boom Bray here. Crowder, definitely in a good spot as well. And I think that's pretty much it that I like towards the bottom. But that's pretty much there. Small forward. Let's go to power forward. At power forward, obviously Anthony Davis is in play. His price is really high. You need about 65, 66 to cover that. It's quite a bit, and that's pretty much where his fantasy point total is at. Blake Griffin has been on fire. I think this is a good matchup for Blake because it's going to be tough for Detroit to handle both Blake Griffin and Andrew Drummond. But I'm going to come down and pick on this LA team again with San Antonio with LaMarcus Aldridge. Aldridge, 21 points per game, 12.5 rebounds. He's pretty much averaging a double-double. He actually has had 4 straight double-doubles, as you can see here. Points, rebounds, points, rebounds, points. Well, actually 3 out of 4. Sorry, my mistake. 3 out of 4 of his games he has had a double-double. Still fantastic. 3.5 assists, 47.3 fantasy points per game. 9,100, you need pretty much 45, 46. And on DK, he's 9,000. You need 45. So 45, definitely in his wheelhouse. He has 60-point upside. He already did it this year. He has 50-point upside. He already did it against Minnesota. He already put up 61 against LA. He's going up there with LA again. I like LaMarcus Aldridge here one more time. We'll go over to the cruncher, and let's go to Aldridge. Let me just clear this up. And they're going up against the 26th defense against power forwards in the Lakers. They have their issues. We'll go over a little bit more of LA in a moment. But as you can see in that game against LA, obviously it was an overtime game. So obviously a lot of additional minutes and a lot of more additional points as well. I don't expect that game to go to overtime again, but you never know. It can happen. 32 and 40 over the last few games. You know he's going to get 35 or better. He's pretty much going to average 32 or better, I would say, per minutes per game. His usage rate, fantastic. 29 and 30 over the last 2 games. Look at the massive amount of shots. Look at the free throw line. How often he gets to the free throw line. It's incredible. In that game, he got to the foul line 18 times. Now, granted, he would have gotten us some more points if he would have buried a few more of those shots, but nonetheless, very impressive. 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. He's also very, very good with his hands. He definitely gets involved in getting those extra fantasy points, which I love. Getting blocks and steals, obviously that's what we want as fantasy players. Really just keep those coming, because the more that they get of those fantasy point totals go up. I mean, right here, he just got 6 fantasy points on the 1 block and 1 steal. So if he averages that, which he has been doing quite a bit over the last 4 or 5 games, that's just icing, on the cake for us. So I mean, I love the matchup. He's been really, really fantastic against LA. So far this year, as we know, giving up the most points per game to the opposition, 124.4 points per game. The centers and forwards have been averaging 43.4 fantasy points per game. So they have their issues up front. Even though McGee has done very, very well for them at center for the Lakers, he's just not that good of a defender. So Aldridge 61 already. So granted, they gave up 43.4, and Aldridge has already put up 61 in the prior game. I do not expect them, just like I said about DeRozan and as well as LeBron James, I don't expect you guys to go out there and get 60 again, but I do believe they're in favorable matchups where they can do it again, and I think they can get that 45-50 that you need, and they have that upside that they can get 60 because they've done it. So again, Mr. Aldridge in play for me. I think he's just a fine play. The matchup is there. When we go to value, I'm going to come all the way down. I love Aminu and his counterpart, his partner in crime, Zach Collins. Now, I'm going to speak upon both because I think that I'm going to have exposure to both of them, and I'm going to actually have some lineups where I'm going to favor Collins, and I'm going to have some lineups where I'm going to favor Aminu. Now, Aminu is 5,400. Let's go up here to Amino for a minute. He's 5,400 here, and he's 4,900 on DK. You pretty much need 27, and he's averaging 24, so it's a little bit of a bump. 4,900 on DK, you need 24. That's more in his price range and more in his fantasy point totals. But look at the last 2 games, 35 and 30 minutes, pretty much 32.5 minutes in the last 2 games. And he had a double-double, 16 points, 15 rebounds. He's going to be a rebounder. That's what he does best. He gets those extra points by being really close to the basket, getting tip-ins and so on and so forth. He definitely can shoot the ball from certain parts of the perimeter. But when he's off, he's off. When we go over here and we take a look at him, and you're going to see, because I was looking at these numbers last night. See, in last game, he missed 8 shots. This game here, he missed 2. This game here, he missed 9 shots from the floor. And he does have the occasional time that he takes some threes and he hits. He didn't hit any here. And when he doesn't, when I notice when he doesn't shoot the ball fairly well, Zach Collins does. And Zach Collins, and we're going to stay right here with Zach Collins. He's all the way down here. And as you can see, he plays less minutes, but he's very efficient in those minutes. 17, 24% usage rate. He takes shots, and his field goal percentage is much better. He's converting at a better rate, and he's also capable of doing all the other things like steals and blocks. Look how active he's been here. 3 blocks in the last 2 games and 2 steals. He gets a few assists. He's definitely going to get rebounds. He's going to help out in that area, and he's capable of shooting the 3, and he's capable of shooting the ball well from the perimeter and attacking and penetrating to the basket. So he has some skill sets that are pretty good, and they complement one another. Now, I'm going to have some exposure to Collins simply because of that. He's also 4,400 on on Fanduel, which is only 22, and he's capable of getting that. And then on DK, he's 3,800, man. You only need 18 for him on DK. So I really like these 2 guys. I'm going to definitely make some lineups with Collins in it, and I'm going to make some lineups with Aminu in it. 35 in the last game in 17 minutes. He crushed value. 17 points in 17 minutes. That's 1 point per minute. And then over here in this game here, he put up an 18 spot in 15 minutes, 17 here pretty much in 19, 26, and 32. So it's pretty much averaging pretty much on average, 1 fantasy point per minute over the course of the 4 games, which I definitely love. I would love to see some more minutes, but again, at 4,400, he can get you value. And if he's going to get 17 to 18, 19 minutes and still put up almost nearly 30 if he gets hot, and they're going to feed it to him if he does well, I think he's an awesome play, especially on DK for 3,800. So Zach Collins and Mr. Aminu are my value plays for today. I do like a couple other guys that I'm going to be having my eye on. I still like Marvin Williams again in this matchup against Philadelphia. John Henson against Orlando could be a little sneaky play, get you 20 maybe, 25. And another guy that I'm eyeing is Marcus Morris of of the Boston Celtics. He's averaging 24, and you got a 45 price tag there. I mean, you pretty much need about 22, 23 to cover that. So he's in a good position as well. And then you got to also consider here in that mid-range, 5,700 and 5,600, Wendell Carter Jr. is going to get a lot of minutes. So he's going to be someone that might be of interest for some people. And Domantas Sabonis, who helped me out make quite a bit of money through last year. He always came through from it. He's another one that might be a very, very nice play today going up against Cleveland. So that's where I'm at there. Obviously, Anthony Davis, will try to sprinkle him in a lineup. 13,000, quite a bit of money. I'm going to go with LaMarcus Aldridge. Aaron Gordon is in another good spot as well at 7,500. That's players, man. I can't go over everybody and actually tell you which ones have the best possible play, because I would definitely have to do extended research. But out of the research I found, the players that I'm giving you are probably the more solid plays. All right, let's go to center. At center today, I mean, Embiid is always in play going up against Charlotte. I mean, I am not going to play him today. I may squeeze him in one lineup. I am not sure as of yet. I'm going to go down to Andrew Drummond. I love Vukovic as well against Milwaukee, and he's been solid. And I had gave him as one of my plays a couple of days ago, and he did very well. Put up about a 47, 48 spot. So Andrew Drummond, I think, is in a good spot here as well against Boston. He has done well against them in the past. 18.5 points per game, 17.8, nearly 18 rebounds pretty much per game and 1 assist. We know he's not going to pass the ball a lot. He's all about getting rebounds, getting putbacks. 43.5 fantasy points per game at 9,300. You need 46, is a little bit above his average. But on DK, he's priced just right at 8,700. You need pretty much 42, 43 to meet value there. And he has had 46 or better in 2 straight games, and he's had 50 twice. So he's capable of getting 50. We know he can get you more than 50 any given night. We'll go over to the cruncher, look at him a little bit closer as far as usage rate and all. And let's go to Drummond. He's facing the 22nd ranked defense against centers this year, which is obviously on the lower end, the Boston Celtics. But as you can see, usage rate pretty much 27 and 28%, 29% over the last 2 games. The minutes are there. He's going to get shots. Look at that, 20 shots from the floor here. Was definitely off on this night. Still put up a double-double here, 14 and 16. He's had pretty much a double-double all the way straight through on all 4 or 5 games. 60-point upside. He has 2 50-point games. Yeah, 4 straight double-doubles, man. Pretty solid for him. Pretty solid for him. He just needs to definitely be a little more consistent with his field goal percentage. If he can do that, he's going to obviously give us a lot more fantasy points. And he's not a bad defender. He can definitely block some shots. As you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 block shots in the last 4 or 5 games, and he's had also 3 steals with it. He can get a little careless with the turnovers, and he can get into foul trouble. That's the only concern always with Andrew Drummond, but I don't believe that's going to be the case tonight. My thought process on that is that who is he facing? I mean, Baines is probably the more physical center they got, and Baines is out. So it's even more of an advantage for Drummond. You know, Al Horford is not really a true banger. He's a center similar to Brook Lopez, stays within the perimeter, likes to take the 3-point shot, is a pretty good free throw shooter. We'll get in there and get some rebounds, but he's not going to go in there and battle with an Andrew Drummond all the time. So I think the advantage there is Andrew Drummond. That's one of the other reasons why I like the matchup. The only drawback is if and I don't think this game is going to be a blowout. I think Detroit has a great shot, especially with their front court with Drummond and Blake Griffin. They have an absolute good shot here to keep this game close. So I like Andrew Drummond, man. Boston is coming in. They're the best, one of the best defensive teams, actually the best defensive team in the league thus far this year, giving up only 97.8 points per game to the opposition, but have allowed the most fantasy points out of all the position players. Their vulnerability is up front, which has always been. And they're giving up 37.8 fantasy points per game thus far this year. They gave up 49 to Vukovic, 41 to Cantor, and 42 to Embiid. So Drummond is right there, just right for the making for him to have 45, 50 or better today. I definitely like the matchup. Andrew Drummond is definitely someone that I'm considering today. He is going to be in my lineups. As far as value, I don't like a whole lot of guys down here. But I'm going to tell you somebody who is definitely priced at a good price and you can't pass him up is Marc Gasol, man. He's 7,400. He's not the typical value play, because when I look for a value play for you guys to share, I'm looking for somebody down, you know, maybe in the 5 range, 6 range when it comes to center. But 7,400 is too cheap for Marc Gasol. You just got to at least take a stab at him. 13.5 points per game, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 32.8 fantasy points per game, which you see all here. He's averaging pretty much 33 fantasy points. He's played 30 minutes or better over the last 2 games. He did have played 3 games at 30 minutes or better. And, you know, he had a double-double here, double-double here. So he's had 2 straight double-doubles. He's getting a couple of blocks. His 3 blocks. Needs to pass the ball a little bit. Let's look at him a little closer and see what his usage rate is. Usage rate is okay, 21% and 25% pretty much in the last 2 games. He's just, his shots got to go down. That's why his prices come down. He's not putting enough fantasy points up because his field goal percentage hasn't been that great. 4 of 13 and 6 of 15 has got to be better. But he does do some other things. And the one thing is, you know, he did get into foul trouble in this game. He fouled out. Stay away from fouls, man, Mark. And he's not typically that kind of guy, as you can see here. He doesn't get really into foul trouble, so obviously it was just a bad night for him, but he did put up 41.6 fantasy points on a night that he had 6 fouls, so that's pretty impressive against Utah. So I love the usage rate. I love the shots. He just needs to get that field goal percentage down. He definitely is going to go and get rebounds, and as long as he could defend a little bit, all that is extra gravy for us, which we will love. Going up against Phoenix, Phoenix has allowed 118 points per game to the opposition and have allowed 45.3 fantasy points per game to centers thus far this year, the most in the NBA. Number 1, giving up points, fantasy points to centers. JaVale McGee had 45, Jokic put up 80, and DeAndre Jordan put up 35. So definitely a lot of wiggle room and room for Marc Gasol to put up 35, 40 or better. I think he can definitely have his first big game of the year where he'll be 45 or possibly better if he can get the shots down and not get into foul trouble, which I believe the foul trouble is not an issue. It's more getting his shots to go down and getting those rebounds and obviously defending a little bit and getting some blocks. And he's going to have a shot here because he's going up against a rookie. And the rookie has given up tons of points to the other guys that we just mentioned. So, again, that's pretty much it, man. That's what I have for you guys today, man. Those are your Stud 5 and your Value 5, man. I wish you guys a lot of luck. Mix and match. I gave you a couple other guys in between that I'm going to have some exposure to. That will help also as well, so make sure you write those names down. You can also do your own due diligence, check those guys out. But that's pretty much it today, man. So I wish you guys luck, man. Drop a like on the video. If you're new to the channel, please drop a sub. Make sure you subscribe. Put on your post notifications. This way you don't miss out on any of my NBA or NFL lineup advice videos. And, you know, I've got a website. It's almost done. Going to be able to share that with you guys as well. You're going to be able to have membership in there. It's going to be very, very cheap, very affordable for people to come in there. You're going to be able to pick my brain a little bit more, and you're going to be able to see all of my possible plays, my player pool, the whole 9 yards. It's going to be a great community at a good price. But when that's up and running, I will definitely share that with you guys. It's going to be for all major sports, and the plan is to expand it and get into even other areas of sports that I don't do. So a lot of stuff coming this way with DFS Zone. So be on the lookout for that. And also make sure that you check in later on. If I make any changes, I may put them right here in the same video. So be on the lookout for that. And of course, I may post it on Instagram, our Facebook group, or on my Twitter account. All right, guys? All right, that'll be it. See you guys on the next NBA video.